Recently was told by a Twitch streamer that there's a limit to objects in the game. What is it, and why is it that number? So it's not a limit to objects per se. This is something that's very confusing to a lot of people because it's like not easy to explain this. But it's not a limit to like amount of objects in the game per se. It has to do with the garbage collector, the memory garbage collector in Unreal Engine. So like there are two ways kind of with Unreal Engine to handle memory. And that's either you allocate and deallocate everything manually yourself, which is it's prone for like human error, because if you forget to like clean up memory, say like you build a conveyor belt or something, you like allocate memory for all that stuff, and then when you dismantle it and you remove everything related to it, if you don't manually like clean everything up, you're gonna get memory leaks, and that the more you play, the more memory leaks you get, and it's eventually big problems happen, right? So there's something called the garbage collector in Unreal Engine, which is their own implementation of garbage collection, which exists in a lot of programming languages, which essentially like every time you create data objects, it will like take care of the memory for it. So like it will keep track of like, oh, things are still referencing this memory part.
What do you make rotors?
Rotors are rotors. Check the codex thing.
Oh yeah, the codex. I forget that exists.
You press X or whatever it is.
It's X.
Snoot explains memory management. Yeah, so the garbage collector is essentially like a system that Unreal Engine made that kind of takes care of memory management for you. And there are a few trade-offs with that though, and one of those trade-offs is that they have a limit of amount of objects in the engine that they can keep track of, and that is a fixed like object limit because of, I don't know exactly why it's set to that. But there's some reasoning why it's set to a certain limitation. Maybe it's RAM, maybe it's, I don't know. But they have a limit to it, and we have to adhere to that limit if we want to use the garbage collector. And that limit is like, and it's not like, it's data objects. It's not game objects. So like, the confusing thing is that, for instance, a constructor contains a lot of data objects within it because it's keeping track of like input and output and like what's in the inventory, if it has more than one inventory slot, stuff like that. So there's various like complexity of like there's various amount of complexity of data objects within a game object in the world, right? So a foundation is not as memory intense as a constructor. So that's where the confusion kind of comes in. So like you can place, like say that the limit is that you can place 1,000 foundations, but you can't place at 1,000 constructors because the limit you'll hit the limit before then. So yeah, and that limit will kind of always exist, but we are working on ways to like optimize the amount of memory each building takes, like uses, or if we can like chunk data and stuff like that. So we're trying to improve that, but there's a limit to how much you can build in the game, and that's because of memory management in Unreal Engine. Whew. All right, I'm gonna have to explain that 40 billion times more because that probably didn't make any sense. But
someone clip it.
It's gonna be a really long clip. Let's see.